Hello all, welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, what is polymorphism? Give examples and how can we achieve it? Let me answer this question with practical demonstration. First of all, let's understand what exactly is polymorphism. Polymorphism in Java is achieved with the help of methods, guys. Okay, there will be single method, okay, which can take multiple forms or different forms. Okay, poly means multiple, morphism means forms. Okay, what is the meaning of polymorphism? Poly means multiple, morphism means forms. A thing which can take different forms. For example, you can take an example of a chameleon. Okay, whatever the object it touches, the color of the chameleon changes, right? So it has different forms. It changes different forms. If it stays on a rock, it converts into brown color. If it stays on a green color leaf or something, the color of the chameleon will change to green color. Okay, if it touches some water, it may change into some kind of color like bluish color or whatever it is. Okay, depending on the colors. Okay, so the chameleon is same. The lizard type of thing, animal, that is chameleon, is same, but it's taking different forms here. Similarly, if you take an example of a movie, okay, I don't know whether this is there in the Hollywood or no, not, but in our region, across India, we have this Aparchit kind of movie where a single person who has a split personality, okay, who behaves differently. Okay, yeah, across different situations, he'll be obedient one time. He will be, kind of crazy sometimes. Okay, sometimes he's angry. Okay, a same person who is expressing different emotions at different times. Okay, so like that, guys, polymorphism also means single thing which can take multiple forms. Okay, fine. So in Java, what is that single thing which can take different forms, methods? Polymorphism is a mechanism in which a single method can take different or multiple forms. Okay. How can a single method can take multiple forms is a question I know you have in your mind. Okay. So to answer that, we have to understand the different types of polymorphism we have in Java. One is method overloading, other one is method overriding. These are the two types of polymorphisms we have in Java. What is method overloading? What is method overloading? Overriding. I'll explain them practically. Later we'll come to this content and explain more details about this method overloading and method overriding. First, instead of going with this theoretical stuff, let's move into the practical part, okay, and understand these two types of polymorphisms, that is method overloading and method overriding, using which, okay, a single method taking multiple forms is possible in Java with the help of polymorphism. Okay, so for that, I'll go to the Eclipse IDE, guys. Here, I'll just create a new package, some random package you create. Let's say polypack, some different pack. Okay, now right click here and create new class and just name this class as let's say something like you can take something. Let's say mathematics demo or some class. I'll take it. That's okay. You can take any name. You can give any name, guys. You can give any name for this class. Inside this class, I'm going to create a method, guys, that is public void add. Add is one of the method I'm taking here. I'll simply give two parameters here, int a comma int b. Okay, there's one method, okay, which is taking two parameters, system.out.println. Here I'll say a plus b. I'll take one more method, that is, otherwise I'll do one thing, guys. Okay, I'll just remove all this stuff. I'll start from scratch. Public void add. I'll give, I'll not give any parameters here, let's say. Okay, I'll just give like this. Okay, whenever someone calls this particular add method, okay, without passing any data or something here, I'll say nothing to add. Nothing to add here. Okay, I'll say, let's say, I'll copy this and I'll try to duplicate this particular method. Is it possible for me to create multiple methods having the, okay, is it possible to create duplicate methods inside the same class? For example, add method is same, add method is same. Is Java allowing me? Is Java compiler allowing me to create method having the same name inside the same class? Multiple methods having the same name inside the same class is possible. You see, duplicate method compiler error is already coming. You cannot do that. But how to overcome this problem? Is it possible that multiple methods inside the same class can have the same name? Yes, still it is possible. How? If these particular methods either differ in number of parameters or type of parameters, it is possible. For example, here how many parameters are there? Zero parameters. For example, if I add int a, okay, single value plus a cannot be added. Okay, cannot be added. Addition cannot be performed. To add something, right, we need two things, two items, two numbers, etc. But here only one number is being passed. Single value a cannot be added. I just printed. Okay. You see, it's possible to create multiple methods having the same name, but here zero parameters are there, and here single parameter is there, one parameter. Since the number of parameters are different here, this method is considered as different from this method. Okay. And now I'll create one more method, that is public void. Again, the same name, add. Again, this will not be allowed. It will be considered as a duplicate method. What if I give int b here? Again, it will be considered as duplicate. Earlier, normal method without any parameters was duplicated with this. Now, if I say add int b, this particular method is duplicated with this method, which has, same number of parameters and same type of parameters. If you don't want to change the number of parameters, for example, if you want to make it double here, okay, that's also fine. This method is a different method from this method, even though they have the same name, but here also one parameter is there, one parameter is there, but here the type of the parameter here is integer type, whereas here the type of the parameter is double type. Since the type of the parameter is different, this can be considered as an overloaded method, guys. All these methods are overloaded methods, even though they have the same name, but they differ in the number of parameters or type of parameters. Is okay, guys. System.out.println, system.out.println, single value, single value, okay, plus b cannot be added, like this. Now I'll create one more method, guys, that is public void add. If I say int a, again this method will be a duplicate method of this particular method. So I'll try to increase the number of parameters. Let's say int b. System.out.println, I'll simply say a plus b. Now I'll create one more method. Guys. Okay. Here two parameters are there. What if I make one of the parameters a different type, for example, double here. You see, it's okay. It's a different one now. Okay. Now I'll copy this. Either the parameters count should be different or the type of the parameters should be different. Here int a comma int b comma int c, I'll say. Here a plus b plus c. You see how many methods I created, guys. How many duplicate methods I created, but no error is coming from the compiler. These methods are called as overloaded methods. Okay, this concept is called as method overloading. Method having the same name can perform different activities here. If you call this particular method without passing any parameters, nothing to add here, it will say. If you call this add method only, but by passing only one integer value, single value, that particular integer value cannot be added, it will say. Okay, the same method is behaving differently, right? Now, what I will do here is I'll create one more class. I'll just name this class as demo class for demonstration purpose. With main method, I'll create to run the code. Okay, from main method, the execution will start. Now here, to call this particular method, I need to create the object for this particular class. Okay, I'll say md is equal to new methods demo. Okay, methods demo. Now I'll simply call this particular object md dot add. I'll say which method will be called out of all these methods. All the methods have the same name, but which overloaded method will call this add method? So nothing to add here will be printed. You see, nothing to add here will be printed. Right click, run as Java application. Nothing to add here will be printed. What if I give some number like 9 here? This particular method will be called. This method will not be called this time. The method having the same name will behave differently now. Single value 9 cannot be added will be printed. Okay. So if I give 9.5, this particular method double value, okay, double variable parameter will be called. Single value 9.5 cannot be added. Okay. Now this one, I'll say 9 comma 5. Okay, 9 comma 5 integer values. 9 plus 5 is 14. Okay, 14 should be printed here as an output. You see, 14 got printed. You see. Now if you say 5.6, this method will be called. Okay, right click, run as Java application. This method will be called. And if you give three values like 9 comma 3 comma 6, okay, run this. You see, 18. 9 plus 3 plus 6, that is 18 got printed. Okay, this is called as method overloading, guys. This is one of the way polymorphism is achieved in Java programming. Okay, polymorphism means a single method can take different forms. That means here in the single method means a method having the same name will perform different activities. Here method got duplicated, but with a different number of parameters or type of parameters, so that it's a single method only indirectly, but you're calling the single method only, right? But based on the type of the parameter or the number of parameters you are passing, the appropriate action is being taken by the method. So it's behaving differently, and this is called as polymorphism, like a split personality. Okay, fine. So this method overloading is also called as compile time polymorphism. Okay. Someone will ask you what is compile time polymorphism. They will not ask you in the interviews what is method overloading. They'll ask you what is compile time polymorphism. You should be in a position to explain, guys. Compile time polymorphism is achieved in Java with the help of method overloading. Okay. Where in a single class you can create multiple methods having the different number of parameters or different type of parameters. Okay. So where while calling that particular thing, appropriate method will be called. Okay. So here, why this is called as compile time polymorphism? Why this is called as compile time compile time polymorphism? So here the decision will be taken by the method. Okay, decision will be taken by the compiler during the compile time to which method should be called. Who will take when you run this code? When you run this code, this add method need to call which method having the same name. The decision will be taken by the compiler. Hence, is called as compile time polymorphism. Here, no object is associated here, right? So here, simple thing is that compiler will decide which method need to be called based on the number of parameters you are passing as an arguments while calling the method. Based on that, the compiler will decide which particular overloaded method need to be called. That's why it is called as compile time polymorphism. What is method overriding? What is method overriding? The next concept by using which a single method can take different forms is method overriding. Guys, I'll explain about the method overriding now. Method overriding I'll explain. For that I'll take different classes. I'll just take one class name like animal, guys. Okay, animal. And in this method, guys, I'll create in this class I'll create a method, guys, that is public void eat method. Okay, public void eat method I'll create system.out.println. And when this particular eat method is called, I'll say animal is eating. Animal is eating, I'll say. Okay. Now I'll create one more class. I'll create one more class, guys. I'll just name this class as a dog class. Okay. So click on finish, and here I'll just drag it somewhere here. And here I'll say, I'll make this dog class a child class of this animal class. Okay. As part of method overriding, we have to make a particular class a child of another class. Let's say dog is a extends animal. I'll say dog extends animal. Here I'll create the same method, guys. You see, I'll not get any error. Okay. Within the same class, if they have the same number of parameters, same type of parameters, you will get duplicate method error. But here, since this particular eat method belongs to the dog class and this eat method belongs to the animal class, even though animal is a parent and dog is a child, you will not get any problem here. Okay. It's okay to create same method inside multiple classes. But this dog class is a child class of the animal class. And here, I'll just change something here. Instead of dog is eating, I'll say animal is eating. Okay. Now save this. So methods have the same name. Okay, but they are part of the different classes. This called as, this particular method is say to, the method in the child class, dog class, is say to override the method in the parent class. Why I'm saying here, right click new class, or I'll just take the same demo class, guys. Same demo class I will take. I'll just drag it here, and here I'm going to create, if I'm going to create an object for the dog class, dog, dog, dog d is equal to new dog. Like this, if I create an object for the dog class, and using this object difference, if I call the eat method, I'll simply say d dot eat. Which method will be called? This is a child class. The child class, you know that it will inherit the methods or properties from the parent animal class. Here, eat method from the animal class will be inherited by the dog class. At same time, the dog class itself has the same method, eat method. So the inherited method from the parent class to the child class will be called by this object difference, or this statement, eat method calling statement, will call the eat method in the child class only. This same method, eat method, will be inherited from its parent class. From the animal class also, eat method will be inherited into the dog class, and dog class also has a eat method. Now there is a confusion, dilemma, okay, ambiguity, whatever you call, where either by using this object difference of the dog class, either the method of the animal class should be called, which is inherited into the dog class, or the child class, its own method having the same name as a parent class method, need to be called. Either of them should be called. But which one will be called? the method in the child class will be called, because this method in the child class is said to override the method in the parent class. Okay. Even though inheritance, this particular method is inherited to the child class, but the child class has its own method. This method will override, replace this method indirectly. Okay, override. To confirm that whether this particular method is overriding or not, we have an annotation known as override annotation, guys. If you provide this annotation, if you're not getting an error, that means this particular method in the child class is perfectly overriding the method in the parent class. This not compulsory, guys. This is optional to check whether this particular method is overriding the method in the parent class. Okay. Now run this code, right click, run as Java application, and dog is eating will be printed. Dog is eating will be printed. Dog is eating will be printed. Fine. Okay. Now, if I create an object for the animal class, then if I create an object for the animal class, animal A is equal to new animal. Like this, if I create an object for the animal class and say A dot eat and run the code, which method will be called? The parent class eat method will be called. Okay. So who is deciding here, guys? During runtime, based on the object, okay, based on the object for which class you are creating, either this method need to be called, this method need to be called is decided. If you create an object for the dog class, the child class method is getting overridden, method is getting called. Okay, having the same name is being called. But if you create an object for the parent class itself, the parent class its own method is being called. Okay. So who is deciding to call this method or this method during runtime? It's being decided. Okay. So it's not the compiler, guys. You can simply say JVM during runtime is deciding which method, either method from the parent class need to be called or method from the child class need to be called based on the object you are creating for that particular class. To create an object for the dog class overridden method will be called. If you create an object for the parent class method will be called. Okay, fine. So since during runtime, the method calling is being decided whether to call from the parent class method or child class method having the same name is being decided during runtime. This is called as runtime polymorphism, guys. Okay, the decision about which method to invoke is made at runtime. During while executing the code, it's being decided, guys, depending on the type of the object. Okay, object you are creating for the class. If you are creating an object for child class, the child class method will be called having the same name. Okay, if you are creating an object for the parent class method having the same name, okay, will be called. This is called as runtime polymorphism, method overriding, and this is called as method overloading, where multiple methods having the same name exist inside the same class, which differ in the number of parameters or type of parameters. Okay, they will be called and decided by a compiler. Compiler will decide here which method need to be called based on the type of the parameters or the number of parameters you are passing while calling the method. Okay. So this is all about the polymorphism, guys. What is polymorphism? Examples I gave with practical demonstration have mentioned how it can be achieved, guys. Using these two types, it can be achieved. That is method overloading and method overriding. Polymorphism can be achieved in Java programming. So, guys, with explanation and practical demonstration, I've answered this question for you. So that's all for this session. Thank you. Bye bye.